I'd be really, really surprised if you would say yes at this point. And I'm like, what are you talking about? So let's hope that this could happen. Big issue now is that she just got another offer from another company this morning. Welcome to another week in the life video where I show you what I do every single day as a recruiter in the technology industry. If you're new here, welcome. If you're returning, great to see you again. But coming into this week, it is Tuesday as I'm filming this. Really spent all day yesterday, Monday, keeping my heads down and just focused on sourcing and outreach as many engineers as I can, because I have so many clients right now that are desperately needing engineers, and it is an absolutely ridiculous market right now. Everyone's going after the same talent, so we really have to put the metal to the pedal, if you will, and do whatever we can to drive as many results as we can. But coming into this week, I am hopping on a call with another one of my clients later today. We got a jam-packed rest of the week with a good handful of interviews, and I expect to keep building and packing this week off as much as possible. Also, by the end of this week, it is gonna be a holiday weekend. Everyone is starting to slack off. Everyone is starting to slow down, they're starting to travel. But you know me, not only do I like to finish the week off strong, but I also like to finish and maintain momentum as much as I can, even during a holiday. So again, but yes, I also take breaks myself, but not yet. But as people are starting to travel and recruiters are starting to enjoy the beautiful sun, I want to do whatever I can to keep that focus strong. It's the best way to get additional clients, best way to get additional candidates. When people are doing less outreach, we're doing more. If you are as excited as I am to really make the end of this month off strong, we really have, this is the last full week of May, and I really hope you're all crushing your goals. And if you're getting close, you surpassed it, you really want to make sure that Q2 is awesome, please consider like, subscribe, click that bell. It really means a lot. Also, feel free to give me a shout out on Instagram. You can find me at Preston_Park, and I'll do my best to tag and shout back at you as well. But I'm feeling really good. Got a busy day ahead of me, got a lot of sourcing ahead of me, and let's get this week off started. Okay, so we got a little bit of a development to share with you. So you've been watching the past two videos where I started talking about my relationship with one of my clients that I thought we had a wonderful relationship, and it definitely set us up for success. I thought for a long-term productive relationship, we can do a lot of deals together. It kind of really turned for the worst, where the client literally chopped off my head and all the hiring managers complaining to her saying we're not doing anything. But if you don't have any idea what I'm talking about, make sure you stop this video right now, go back to videos, watch it, and then come back, because I got a pretty juicy update for you. So first of all, I definitely appreciate all of you reaching out to me and sharing with me your advice, and most of you across the board have really encouraged me to just walk away, and that's something that I was okay with, I'm becoming more okay with, and that's something that it was going to look like what I was going to do. What's crazy is that I got an email late last night from the head of HR at my client company, and she's like, hey, Preston, do you have a couple minutes to chat tomorrow? Because we would love to kind of find ways to re-engage. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Because my head is still not attached to my body after the founder just hacked it off. Now you want to work with me again? I'm like, I talked to the founder and she seemed pretty definitive that she didn't want to work with me. Did you guys talk again? And she's like, yeah, we had another conversation, and I think there are a lot of ways that we can kind of make things better and optimize our process, and would love to see if you're open to revisit. So we actually scheduled the phone call today. I just got off the phone with her, and I was able to really just vent and share with her transparently, as honest as I can, but keeping it, you know, gentle, kind, and professional. My frustrations that, you know, they were not listening to me, they were not open to having an open mind, they had really unrealistic expectations. They wanted to hire software engineers like in 2 weeks. Like, of course, if I could, I would hire a software engineer, help them recruit for hiring someone tomorrow. But the market is ridiculous, and chances are, you know, if you find someone that's good, they're also interviewing with 4 to 6 other companies, and a lot of the people that we don't send to them is because they just are not interested in the advertising tech space. So like, they have to understand that, and not to mention they're not really super competitive on the salary. So like, so many reasons why we're not able to send so many people to them. But even despite whatever obstacles that we do work with any of our clients, we do whatever we can to drive results. And that was one issue. Another issue is like they're being completely disruptive. This is the second time they just pull the plug. And if it's just on me, like I'm okay with that, but it's ruining the experience of my candidates, which I really care about, because I want to make sure everyone has as positive as an experience with my clients as much as possible. Upon submitting candidates, I don't know what happens. It seems like no one is forwarding them to the hiring managers, because all the hiring managers are continuing to complain to the founder, saying that we're not getting any candidates from Preston, where in fact we're submitting a lot. So it seems like they're trying to make me as the band-aid, or they're trying to like have me fix all of their internal recruiting issues, where they need to still be recruiting internally. They still have to have an optimized process and tools internally, and I'm a partner to do what I do best and help them find people and guide that process to close. And I'm not here to like fix everything. I will of course consult, advice, and do whatever I can, but like this whole disconnect of what the hiring managers is telling the founder, what the head of HR is telling the hiring manager and the founder. I even was really blunt with her, saying, hey, the founder even told me that you were bad-mouthing us, throwing us underneath the bus, and every time I talked to you, I thought we had a good conversation, like what's going on here? So she apologized, and I think she's just under a lot of pressure and stress, which everyone is, but at the same time, they need to do whatever they can to respect and treat their partners and their vendors really well. If not, like, now the power is in our court, but we don't have to work with them ever if we don't want to. And I told them, look, I'd be open to entertaining another conversation, but like I'd have to have a direct conversation with the CEO. We'd have to come up and recall everything, the whole process, how everything's done, how fast they can get feedback back to us, and most importantly, not to be disruptive and just keep pulling the plug and chopping off our heads just when things are moving along. And I told her, like, if I flew to Mexico or if I went to Hawaii and I didn't do any work for 2 months and I was just happily collecting a retainer, I'd be the first to admit it. But in fact, the opposite was true. I was working my butt off every day, every week, and every month, prioritizing their positions, and she can see the numbers of submissions that we did in their ATS. And so like I told her, frankly, I don't know where it's coming from. Like it's not our fault that our candidates are not being dispersed to hiring managers. Over the past couple of weeks, they said that they've been really improving that process, but not to a point where like it's smooth and it's operating really, really well. So I'm like, number one, that needs to be fixed. Number two, I need to have a talk with the founder. And number three, like I need to talk about like our retaining agreement. Like she told me at the end of this month, boom, they're gonna cut us. We're not gonna get paid anymore. And it's just been an absolute disaster since we became a retainer. And they've just been penny pinching, asking for more, not listening to us, not respecting us, giving us the professional guidance that we usually provide to all of our clients, and then expecting us to still deliver. And even despite everything, I'm still open and adamant to deliver consistently, because I knew that this was a wonderful relationship in the past, and I was thinking more in the future, more big picture, and I was willing to kind of take a couple steps back, take a little bit of a sacrifice or compromise in the next kind of 60 days. I guess the jokes were on us and they were the ones using us. So there's a lot that needs to be done for me to even be remotely serious to consider working with them again. But we'll see. I mean, at the end of the day, as you saw from last videos, I hate ending things badly, people. If there is a way for me to get things back on neutral, professional, amicable terms, I totally would. I tried and exhausted everything. So this was a complete surprise. Like I was happy to go off in the sunset and never think about them again. And it seems like no matter all the threats the founder gave me, Preston, we can work with other recruiting agencies. Like they keep coming back to us. So like, come on, like if you want to work with me, that's great, but just let us do what we do best under the parameters that we like to operate in. So I'm gonna keep you updated. Like that's a huge surprise. We'll see what happens, who knows? Okay, so I just had another great Zoom call with one of my old clients, very mission oriented, really building the all-in-one platform for people that are traveling to America and for international students. So if you're looking for like a US phone number, US bank account, like they wanna make that whole experience great. And so I synced up actually with the founder and we went over the positions, had a really great client intake call that they're looking for, JavaScript stack engineers from, entry to mid-level to senior. We went over the salary. We went over like their stack, which is like Vue and on the front end, Node on the back end. And then upon a couple submissions, like they kept rejecting people, which I thought were hitting everything on the nail. So I asked the founder actually if I can speak with their head of engineering. So funny enough, the head of engineering is a candidate I placed at a previous startup, and he actually left that startup to get this job. So I synced up with them. It was really good to catch up with him, really good to see him again. And then he was able to kind of share with me that they're now open to talk to me remote, which was not the case when I spoke with the founder, and that they're really kind of open to more front-end leaning folks instead of more back-end leaning, which I totally understand now. We revised the salary, we revised the flow, we revised what happens when we submit people, like through an ATS or email ad hoc, and we just went over everything. And this just honestly goes to show that if you're a recruiter in the agency world, and if you have a client and you're working a technical position or your specialized technical market, it is really, really important for you to connect directly with the technical hiring manager. A lot of times the founder, if they don't have a technical background, they'll only know like the general broad strokes, high level of it. But for you to adequately like target and know who exactly to target, you have to talk to someone who understands the technical background to a T. For example, if you're a software engineer, you're talking to another hiring manager who has a software engineering background, who can share with you explicitly in layman terms exactly what they're looking for, because founders with a more of a business background, they don't really know what the technical requirements are so well when it comes to technical positions. So it's really, really important that whatever you're hiring for, you talk to someone that has that background so they can be crystal clear in terms of like the must-haves, the X factors, the criteria and skills, so that you can walk away understanding exactly what they're looking for so that you can do your job effectively. And so even though I thought I knew the job, it was really helpful to connect with the head of engineering, and we were able to kind of go through everything. And now I'm able to walk away with a lot more clarity and a lot more of a game plan, and like just tweaking our targeting, tweaking our parameters so that we know that if we send people, there's a really high chance of them moving forward, respecting their time, respecting my time, and respecting my candidate's time. So a lot of times if you're recruiting, you interface with the recruiters, you interface with the founders, but it's always best. And if you're talking to bigger companies and the only people you're interfacing with are the recruiting team internally, that's totally cool, but also ask them that you connect with the direct hiring managers if possible. Have a phone call, have a Zoom call, because the more you know, then the better you can search, the better candidates you can submit, the happier and more impressed they are with your work, creating and maximizing a wonderful relationship short-term and long-term. If you don't talk to the right people, if you don't have the right idea of what they're looking for, you send less relevant or on-target candidates, and then there's a higher likelihood that if this continues, the company's like, oh wow, like this recruiter stinks, they don't know what they're doing, we're gonna work with someone else, and it increases the chance of you getting cut or dropped, which you don't want. So tip number one, and this is the biggest tip, make sure that if you're picking up any role, it's directly with the technical hiring manager. Even if it's not technical, if it's a finance role, you want to talk to the finance hiring manager. If it's a sales role, you want to talk to the sales hiring manager. A lot of times recruiters only know broad strokes or simplified notes of what they get from the hiring manager, but for us who are specialized in our market and industry, we know the talent hunter, we like to go straight to the source, so that we can ask a lot of pointed questions and we can hear directly from his or her mouth and then get the show started. All right, so the past week someone asked me my advice on what I do when I have candidates in process with my clients, but they're also in process with the FANGs, or like the big tech of the world: Facebook, Apple, Amazon, Netflix, Google, sometimes Microsoft is thrown in there as well. And so I am happy to say that I've been recruiting long enough where I had a handful of people that I was able to get to accept offers with my clients, and not from Facebooks and Googles of the world. It's very difficult, but it always feels great when we're able to get someone excited about a smaller company than like one of these big companies who are just throwing just a bunch of ridiculous money and just getting the whole market out of whack, because at the end they just need bodies and they're willing to pay a lot of people ridiculous amounts. And I think for a lot of them it's warranted, but I've seen a lot of salaries and offers, especially for mid-level or junior engineers, that are just crazy, like jaw-dropping crazy. Just doesn't make any sense. But with that said though, I have some thoughts to that. Again, I don't have 100% success rate. It's very, very difficult. At the end of the day, I think numbers would always talk, and no matter how well that you sell the opportunity with your clients, if the difference of what they're getting from your client and what they're getting from the FANGs of the world is too great, it's very hard to ignore that big salary or that big comp package. With deep pockets like FANGs, they're able to pretty much offer the top packages that you'll see for a lot of the tech roles in tech. So, but with that said, like I have 3 things that I like to kind of do. Number 1, you always want to remind candidates what they're looking for. When you first interact with a candidate, assuming you do your call well enough, you would have gone through exactly like what they're looking for in their next job. Like, do they really want like a smaller team, a smaller company? Do they want, you know, offices that are hybrid only, that offices that have big, you know, kombucha or ping pong tables or beautiful interior design, or, you know, someone with like a great manager or autonomy opportunities or founders, like whatever it is, it's really, really important to understand what the candidate wants, because once they go into process with your client, it is our job to continually remind them, not push them, remind them like why they're looking for a job in the first place and what they're looking for. I think when they go in process with our clients and they are I'm assuming they're a smaller company, a smaller startup or a mid-sized company, it's easy to then go into process with Amazon and Google, like, oh my God, it's Google, it's Amazon, everyone knows it. And then, you know, they get a ridiculous salary offer from them. And it's easy, so easy to forget what you're looking for to begin with, especially if what you're looking for has a lower comp package too. So it's really, really important for you to maintain a really strong relationship with your candidate through periodic process calls or check-ins, and each time remind them and go over what they're looking for, so that, you know, they can kind of focus on that and forget for a small amount of time on the distractions on the big companies like the Facebooks and their sexy and glitzy brand and global recognition. That's my tip number 1. Just make sure that you can remind them and do a good job and continually to remind them what they're looking for in a job. If someone's like, I want a small company, I'm done with these banks or these big companies, but then they start a process with Facebook and Google and they're getting kind of excited and caught up in that, it's our job to be like, hey, well, like, you know, when we first spoke, you said that you wanted small companies. My client can offer you X, Y, and Z, everything you're looking for in a small company. And going to point number 2, there are clear broad stroke differences between small and big companies. So like in a small company, people tend to have the opportunity to wear multiple hats, be able to work more autonomously, have more of a personal relationship with the head of the department, division, or the founders. It's more fluid, more fast-paced, it's more chaotic, it's less systems. And for some people, they excel in that. For others, they don't like that. And for the latter group, they like to work at more larger companies that, you know, you'll be focused on kind of, your scope is a lot more focused. There's a lot less opportunity for you to kind of touch on everything, the entire platform, the entire product. Things tend to move a little bit slower. You're not able to kind of work closely with the founders. So for example, if you're working at Tesla, the chances of you, especially if you're entry mid-level, working directly with Elon Musk is unlikely. Same thing with Jeff Bezos at Amazon or Bill Gates at Microsoft, right? Things tend to be slower, more bureaucratic, more systems oriented, and just a lot more structure. You know, for some people, they love that. For others, they hate that. And so like that's a really good general framework to use when you're comparing and when you're helping to people navigate all the interviews that they're going through with small, big companies. There is another kind of third scenario where it's like the best of both worlds, where you can join a startup team inside a big company, or like an innovation lab inside a big company, or a startup team inside a big company. So you can kind of get like the, you know, the really cool pros and benefits of working at a startup, but one that's inside a stable, successful big company. And I think the FANGs do offer this. And I think if your candidate's looking for something small and they end up interviewing for like a startup team at a FANG, like, ooh, that's going to be even more difficult to compete with. But for apples and oranges, big versus small, that's typically like a really good benchmark that I like to think of things that you can kind of use. And number 3, what I also like to say is that if you start process with FANG, assuming it goes well, if you choose to withdraw or choose another offer, you always have the opportunity for you to work at FANGs. I think when you're small, early stage or mid stage, you know, and you kind of want to experience that startup itch, it's easier to do that early in your career. There's less risk, you have less life and personal responsibilities. It's easier to kind of go through a startup, and God forbid, worst case scenario, it runs out of money, you know, you can always get another job. And if you start process with the FANGs or big techs and you do well, you go through the process, but you end up working somewhere else, you can always resume and go back to the Facebook, Amazon, Netflix of the world. And what I also see is that typically people join FANGs early, then they tend to stay there long term. And that's nothing wrong with that, but it's hard to kind of break out of that and break out of the FANG environment, especially with your elevated comp package to join a riskier, smaller company in your career. So I think the people that made the jump have worked at FAANG for not too long, maybe under 3 to 5 years, so they're not completely entrenched in there, or people that chose to like work and get that small startup, mid-sized companies out of their system, and then if it's for them, they keep riding that wave. If not, they can always revisit FAANG again. But chances are they're called FAANG for a reason, big tech. Like for them to kind of go out of business is very unlikely. They will always be around for the foreseeable future, but many startups you don't, right? So, you know, if you're risk averse, then maybe you have to understand and you have to feel your candidate, like where on that spectrum that they stand. Not just that, the last point is that, you know, when you're at a smaller company, the comp package is a little bit different. Typically with bigger companies, which are already public, you get RSUs or bonuses. The real draw, or one of the draws people consider working at smaller, fast growth companies, is the equity, that they get a huge percentage of shares of that company. And the earlier stage that you go, the bigger percentage that you get, the less diluted it is. And so, you know, there's no reward without no risk, right? So the earlier you join a company, even though it's higher risk, if it goes through an exit, the more significant life-changing reward you'll get. If you join a company that's more established, you'll still get equity upside, but probably not as life-changing as if you join something that's much earlier. And this is something you don't normally get at the Googles and Facebooks of the world because they're already massive and public, even though they will offer you with an awesome salary cash in front and of course bonus and RSUs on the back end as well. So it all comes down to understanding in a candidate, what do they want, how risk averse are they, and then just continually reminding them throughout the process what they're looking for. And then if your client can constantly offer like a Lego piece what they're looking for, it's our jobs to remind them that. If all you do is just submit candidates and you just hope for the best, you still can do deals like that. But I think the more control, the more relationship you have with the candidates, and the better you are, not to push, but to just have a conversation and gently remind them why your client is the better choice objectively, then the better chances that you can do more deals. And the better chances you'll do more deals with a candidate who'll keep coming back to you if they wanted another job at the end of the day. So again, it's very difficult. I've gone through this process multiple times, and I've still lost candidates to the big techs. And at the end of the day, money talks. No matter how good you are, if that money package is too great, it's so hard to ignore. You know, you can walk in saying, I don't care about the Googles, but then you came out saying, I accepted a job at Google because I can't say no. And they're like, with this offer, I gotta at least feel Google out, stay at least maybe 2 to 3 years and kind of go from there. So I hope this helps. It's our job to sell our clients as much as possible in a very professional way, but also giving the candidate space to make the decision for themselves. And in no way should you have shortcuts, play games, do any of that. Our job is just provide the facts and be professional, be that ear for the candidates, and then hoping that they make the right decision. And if they do, awesome job. If they don't, no hard feelings. Try again. All right, happy Wednesday morning. I actually heard late last night that my educational tech client is moving to an offer for my recruiting candidate once again. This happened twice before, and so let's see if third time's the charm. Now, my hiring manager, the COO, is actually traveling right now, so it's gonna be difficult to get in touch with her, but I was able to just sync up with my candidate right now and extend and share the verbal details. Now, she was looking for 160 to 170. My client came out with 165, which is a great starting point, but they do not offer equity options or bonus. So my candidate's gonna go back and do some number crunching just to really see if what she's getting is actually competitive. And she's going to also include her calculations with benefits and, you know, whether or not the salary is okay, or maybe she wants to ask a little bit more. My little thought is that she's probably gonna ask a little bit more. I think if it was 165 plus benefits plus bonus, I think that's pretty competitive. But if it's just 165 and that all she's getting is salary, she needs to make sure that every year her salary can not only increase, but she's starting off on the right foot and being competitive. So I did recommend to her that she needs to kind of go back and CC us to the hiring manager and just have honest discussions at this point. Like, again, negotiations is is not to be tough or scary. Like, have fun. You know, you've made it to the easy part. You've done all the hard part, and just be honest and be transparent. Don't play games and see where everything falls. Now, it's a little bit difficult for my candidate because she unfortunately is also going through a pretty big kind of personal matter as well. I think her mother just had a really big surgery, and family's family, and family's all you have. And I can understand it can be very stressful, not just for interviewing, but for your current job. And there's, very overwhelming sometimes and hard to be able to kind of think of anything else other than your family that's not doing too well. So I totally get that, and I want to kind of give her space at the same time and try to get her a space by conveying this to my client as well. But I think for her to just genuinely be honest with my client and just sharing like what she's going through, I think that will have the biggest impact for my client being understanding, empathetic, and considerate in terms of what my candidate's going through. I mean, I can't imagine like interviewing for jobs while everything is going on while you have a full-time job and all that stuff. So I totally get it, but I'm happy that the first starting salary point is pretty strong. It's well within the target, but I would not be surprised if she would ask for 170 or maybe a little bit higher. And I think that's definitely something my client can do, because this is the third offer they're coming out with. 2 of them got rejected or withdrew for a variety of reasons. So let's hope that this could happen. I would love for this to, be done, because this will be my first position closed with this educational tech company that I've been working for months right now. And so many close calls. Speaking of this educational tech, they are apparently happy enough with us that they're introducing us to their VP of sales to help them with a sales role. I'm gonna probably sync up with them on Friday just to kind of feel them out. But all in all, I have a pretty big schedule planned. I did a lot of repitch in our database for engineering managers and product designers. They're slowly coming in, and the resumes look great. So we have people to send to 2 new open positions that we picked up this week as fast as possible. So I'm really, really happy about that. Got about 6 client calls, have to step out and spend really half the day doing personal errands, but interviews are moving forward. Everything's moving forward. It's a good time to be a recruiter, as demand is continuing to go sky high, with a lot of companies being very aggressive with aggressive goals. So all in all, really good. I'm also gonna sync up with my other candidate who got an offer. Now, this is for the IP role, and this is just super tricky because every time I talk to him, it sounds like he's getting cold feet. He's like, I want remote, but it doesn't sound like it's remote. But then last time they spoke with the founder agreed that they want him to be in the office 2 weeks in August, and then 1 week in the office September, October, November, December, and after that, fully remote. And the idea is that because he's in Ohio, because his job is IP related, and they have a short, immediate timeline to process a lot of IP initiatives this fall, like they need him to come to the office as much as possible in the beginning to not only wrap up, meet the team, but also just make a lot of good progress on these initiatives. And then once everything is stabilized, he has a good workflow, then they can kind of phase him out to fully remote. So I haven't been able to kind of keep in touch with him. I know he's traveling right now, so it's hard to get in touch with him right now, just to see like genuinely how he feels about that conversation. They're also flying him out to New York to visit the team, and he agreed to that. So I'm thinking that's kind of a good thing, instead of like him really getting cold feet. I don't know with this guy. Like, I'd be really, really surprised if you would say yes at this point. But like everything he's asking for, the company is giving him. So that's a good sign, which is making it a lot harder for him to say no. So my goal for him is to sync up with him and just to see how he feels, and hoping that we have time to sync while he's traveling. But we have 2 offers that are happening right now. Neither of them are closed. I'm doing whatever I can to get them closed. Oh my God. So far, great week. Let's keep it up. Happy Friday morning. It's been a great week so far, even though it's wet and cloudy and gray outside, but no real updates with our 2 candidates going forward through references and negotiations. At the offer stage, the IP candidate is actually going on site to my client next week, which is a good sign. So whatever red flags that he has, it's not big enough to prevent him from actually meeting the team, which is great. And then my second recruiter candidate had another chat with another colleague on the team, a director of people that they recently hired yesterday. I just followed up with her to see how that went, but I know that she's going through a lot of personal family situations right now, so I'm gonna have to really tactfully, follow up with her and just, not be too aggressive here and just kind of give her space to process everything. So it is also Friday, which is the beginning of a long weekend. Many people are actually not working. I'm working more of like a half, 3/4 day today. Still got 8 candidate calls, hopping on with another client. And you know me, if it's Friday, love to do whatever we can to kind of end the week off strong. Even though it's a holiday, do whatever we can to maintain that momentum momentum and make sure we can kickstart next week with great calls, interviews, and hopefully offers set up. So that's my focus right now. I constantly have to like audit my pipelines just to see how everything's going. I love to feel that all the pipelines are moving forward and they're full with great candidates. There's an importance of filling a pipeline with qualified candidates and filling a pipeline with irrelevant candidates. I think sending irrelevant candidates is a complete waste of time for everyone. So I don't ever recommend recruiters out there who do like a spray or pray type of thing and just kind of really approach recruiting as a lottery mindset that, you know, you just throw a bunch of candidates hoping that one stick. It's more effective, more efficient, and it's just more respectful of everyone's time if you understand the position really well, utilizing your expertise and specialization, and only sending candidates that fit the bill so that not only it maximizes the chance of them being interviewed and subsequently hired, but you know, you're saving everyone's else's time by reviewing good candidates, and for candidates that are interviewing companies and moving very quickly, giving them an overall really good experience. I think if you're in recruiting, especially in the agency world, you're in any sales capacity, you're running your own company, your small team, or really, I guess, doing anything. I think there's a huge difference between working a lot and working smart / having high levels of productivity. So to me, and this is only my opinion, but I think it doesn't really matter how many hours you work, it matters of what you can produce. Like, what are your goals daily, weekly, and are you actually hitting them? I think for a lot of companies and for a lot of jobs, the metrics is so much on like, we want to make sure you're physically in the office, you're physically sitting at your cubicle on your chair for 8, 9, 10 hours, ergo you must be working well. There are a lot of times, even in my personal life, where, for example, when I first started in recruiting, it was a typical 9-to-5 job. It was very well understood that most people actually stay in the office much later, but I actually was able to really leave the office at 5 or really close to 5, maybe 5:30, and still be able to outperform most of the people in the office, becoming a top recruiter nationwide, because I was very efficient with how I was managing my time. So, you know, people who are like, oh my God, I'm working so hard, 100 hours a week, are they actually really producing the amount of work that is equal to the amount of hours they're putting in? And chances are, no. And there's so many data, so many studies out there that even though you might be working 8, 9, 10 hours a day, your true working time is probably maybe 5 to 7 hours for the average person. So for me, I'm all about, look, I don't want to work forever. I'll only work longer if I have to, but I want to make sure that if I work, I'm producing, I'm moving forward in my business. So to bring it back to recruiting, like, you have to understand, what are your daily, weekly goals? If your business needs more clients, what do you have to do to get more clients? If your business needs more candidates, what are you doing to be bringing more candidates? If all you're doing is spending time 10 hours a day, for example, just working 30% efficiency and just going really slow and reaching out to 5, 10 candidates, you can call that work, or you can be hyper productive, have a sense of urgency, hyper efficient, and be crystal clear on what you're looking for and do as much as you can as fast as possible. And this is how I was able to really produce a lot more with a short amount of time than people who are physically in the office for a lot longer than me, but producing at a lower level. So I think less focus should be on how long you're working and more what kind of work you're doing, but more importantly, what kind of results are you bringing? Because for me, even though there are times where it requires you to work a lot, I don't want to work if I don't have to. And if I do work, I just want to make sure it's pushing something forward, I'm getting one step closer to a result, or I'm about to cross off really big milestones and goals that I'm really kind of vying towards. And so a lot of people, and I'm hearing this a lot, are just complaining about how much they're working, where, you know, I think especially in a sales capacity where we're actually paid by results, it takes a hard look to be like, am I actually working really hard? Can I be more efficient? If I do X, Y, and Z, maybe I don't have to work an extra 1 to 3 hours if not needed. It's very important to be crystal clear on your goals, daily, weekly goals. What exactly do you have to do to get those done? And then are you focusing on those? Or are you just focusing on a lot of aimless, irrelevant activities you can allocate in the morning, you can allocate in the weekends or late at night that are just really not gonna help you with your goals at all? I think there is a lot of meaningless work, a lot of unpriority work that should be a secondary priority versus work that should be your main priority, driving your work, job, and business forward. And that is exactly what you should focus on. So this is how, for me, I'm able to work maybe 5-6 hours, true work 5-6 hours a day with equivalent of someone working maybe 8, 9, 10 hours a day, because I really like to manage my day up to the minute and just be hyper focused, hyper efficient, and just work with a great sense of urgency so that when I am done, I know I had a good day's of work, I was very efficient, I got a lot done, I was very productive, and my goals are moving forward. So wherever you are, whatever stage that you're in, ask yourself, like, what are my goals? Am I doing the work that helps me achieve my goals? Or am I just working? If you're just working and you feel like things are slow, ask yourself, like, what exactly am I doing? And is this really necessary? Is this really important in my job? Is this really important to help me like hit my next goal, get my promotion, get my next offer? Or is it just kind of, I'm just going through the motions of working, but actually not producing anything? So I think that's really, really important to ask, especially if you're in kind of an entrepreneurial sales role, kind of like recruiting agencies where you have to basically own the entire desk. You have to bring in your business and clients, and you have to bring in candidates, and then that's how you make income. And we don't work off of a stable salary, we work off what we're able to produce. So it's really important that you know exactly like what you're doing, you're managing your time, you're crystal clear in your goals, and you're making it happen every single day, and not wasting an hour, not wasting 30 minutes, or even a single minute on things that you can do later, earlier in the day, or whenever. When it's during the peak business day, manage your time to the minute, to the 5 minutes, so that you know that if you worked X amount of times, if you work 8 hours, 6 hours, 7 hours, you're getting a lot of good stuff done, and you're on your way to crushing your goals. So hope that helps. See you in a bit. All right, so we got an update for our recruiting candidate who got an offer from our educational tech client, and she's kind of going through the process of talking to other team members and just going through all of her concerns or questions one at a time, which is obviously very great. It's good to be systematic and methodical with getting through all of your issues. The only big issue now is that she just got another offer from another company this morning. Oh my God. And so because of that, she shut down all of her other interview processes. It's honestly down to this company and my client. And if you've been watching, like, you would know I've been trying so hard to place a recruiter. I'm a recruiter trying to place another recruiter at my client. And we've had 3 other offers that were rejected before, or 2 other offers. She's the 3rd one. It would honestly be really bad and painful if this did not work out, because I've been trying so hard and this is as close as we've come. So I just need to pull out all the stops and make sure I can do whatever I can to get this done. But she sounds still really positive with my client. I'm gonna try to sync up with her probably sometime next week because she is syncing with the other co-founders, someone else on the team today, hoping that goes well. And then any other questions, I can really try my best to push to close next week. If we have to raise salary, we totally will do that. But on the plus side, at least we know we have like at least a 50-50 shot now. So my job now is to make that a little bit more than 50. The higher it can go, the higher the chance she can accept my client. But she's also interviewing with another company. Her family and mom is going through something. So it's just a very difficult situation that I have to proceed with utmost care and empathy. It's very, very easy as a recruiter to only care about our deal, but then you don't realize, you don't remember sometimes that the other side of the phone call is another human being, and they're also going through other life issues, personal issues as well. And we have to do whatever we can to care, give them space to process all that, because getting a new job is big decision. Getting a new job is stressful. But if you toss in health issues, family issues, your other job, like there's so many things that can go on. So I think, us recruiters, we should just be very careful to push, but be also very, very careful to push too hard. That can leave a lot of people with a bad taste in the mouth, not just in recruiting, in any sales role. So it's very, very important to listen, to understand what they need, give them space, and just help them navigate the process. So this will not be an easy close. The difficulty literally leveled up because now we have a competing offer. But at least here, my job is to understand where this other offer is coming from. I want to know everything about this other company. I want to know everything about the offer, because the more I know, the more we can then work with our client to modify the offer to be as competitive or better as possible to sweeten the pie. Hello, and happy Friday afternoon, had to step out here, do some errands before the long weekend. I did actually sync up with one of my clients, the head of product at the AVIATION tech company, and he responded back saying, hey Preston, like, can we see more product candidates? Like, why aren't we making any progress? And he just wanted to sync with me to see if everything's going okay. And here's the thing, I think I've talked about this before, but the blessing and curse of being a really good recruiter is that if you're really good and you establish a really good pipeline off the get-go very quickly, it's kind of the natural expectations of your clients to see that every single week. While that's obviously something I want to do, it's very, very hard to do that consistently, especially if there are a lot of different factors at play. So obviously filming this right now, it's the Friday of Memorial Day weekend here in the US, meaning everyone is slowing down. People are already on vacation. People are traveling already, and they will continue to do so next week, but also throughout the summer. So I think just getting natural responses from candidates have been a lot more difficult and slower, but this is a cyclical thing and a seasonal thing. This is what happens every single year. And also we're working extremely like senior level positions for them. So naturally, like, you know, the more senior you go, and these are directors, senior directors, the less people to reach out, we can reach out to. But when clients see candidates from you, it's very easy for them just to focus on the candidates that you're sending them, and they completely forget, or they don't think about the candidates you're not sending them. I have to always educate my clients that for every candidate we send them, even though we do our best for them to check off all the boxes, and even though we do our best to reach out to some of the top companies and the ideal companies, a lot of these candidates are not looking, or they're just not interested in that role. And so it's also very important to educate your clients and be like, hey, these are the amount of people we're reaching out to, these are the people we're sending to you, but these are also the people that have said no because they're not interested. Because a lot of times, like, well, why aren't you reaching out to this person? They're you know, from the ideal competitor, from the ideal space. And then if you don't say anything, that doesn't really help your situation. But if you're like, hey, we actually reached out to them, they responded saying that they're either not in the market, or they're not interested, or maybe they're blocked by NDA, they totally understand that. So it's very important to set these expectations up in the beginning of the call. But I think my client particularly is under a lot of pressure, and it's easy for him to forget that, you know, holiday weekend's happening right now, so things are just naturally slow across the board. But I was able to just clearly communicate that with him, and then just let him know that coming into this week, like, we're still keeping his positions a priority. We'll open up a couple more searches for him and see what we can do. But I was also a little bit surprised because we have 4 to 5 people that they all liked a lot. It's not like they have 0 candidates. I thought they shortlisted at least 2 to 3 of them. So I'm not sure why he's like, you know, we're disappointed we haven't filled this role, because we're getting signals from him and his colleague, the director, saying these are the people that we're shortlisting we want to move forward with. So just had to kind of clarify to see what happened, what's going on. I know they're still finishing up interviews, but it seems like they kind of want to see more people sooner rather than later. They're getting a lot of pressure internally to kind of get this job filled as soon as possible. So with that said, I just honestly want to thank you again for making it this far if you've been watching, and if you're new here, welcome again. The purpose of these videos is to just show what we do behind the scenes, just straight up recruiting, no hype, showing all the wins, showing all the losses, showing all the complicated, challenging situations that we have to go through, many of them emotional, many of them psychological, with candidates, with clients, all of the above. And this is on top of coming into a very unpredictable market. People are talking about the Great Resignation, people are talking about recession, and I'm happy to say that by filming this right now, the tech market is still, even though, you know, there are some companies that are struggling, and we're kind of hearing a lot more macro waves that could hit the greater industry and the market. There are a lot of companies out there that are still raising a lot of money in terms of funding rounds, and companies that are still ambitiously hiring. But if you enjoyed this video, please let me know. If there's honestly anything else that you want to see, please also let me know. Would love to kind of hear from you. I also love to always meet other recruiters and talent professionals out there. So if you're, you know, a master in your market, you have a great track record, you want to partner and collaborate with us in any way, please reach out. For people who are like, you know, reaching out just asking me if I want to chat on the phone, I wish I could, but as you can see, and as I hope you could see from my week in life, my days are packed. So I have to be very selective with how I use my time. And if I were to take away time during my day, that's time away from sourcing, repitching, talking to clients, talking to candidates. So I have to be very, very selective with who I reach out to. But if you have any simple questions, or you want to, more importantly, want to work with us or collaborate with us, you know, reach out to me on YouTube down below, reach out to me on Instagram, reach out to our free Discord community. Always love hearing from you guys, and always love to hear your success stories. It just gets me pumped. But I love making these videos, and I hope that, you know, if you're thinking about recruiting, you're in recruiting, you're just starting recruiting can honestly be one of the best careers out there. But make no mistake, it can also be extremely extremely challenging. I think recruiting across the board is a challenging profession. In-house has its challenges, but particularly agencies, particularly if you're an agency setting working for yourself, as we can't rely on any stable salary. It's all about supporting our lifestyle through placements. And for many people, that can be extremely stressful and anxious. It's not for everyone. I totally get that. And as I was trying to be transparent with you, I've gone through my own battles, and I don't want you to get the impression, if you're watching my videos, that recruiting is easy, it's fun, you can make a lot of money, you can make 6 figures in a month, 6 figures in a week, 6 figures in a day. Just make no mistake. And I want to make this crystal clear that anything's possible if you're consistent at it and you do work the right way, you don't take shortcuts and stay at it over time. You can see massive results, but it has not been easy. I have experienced multiple burnouts every year since I started. There's been months where I made 0, and there have been, hard years, and there have been years that have been amazing. And as soon as I started recording my channel, that's when I've seen like record breaks at the record breaks at the record breaks. And I just don't want people to get the wrong impression saying recruiting is easy, and I can make a lot of money and change my life. It can definitely do that, but I want you to come in with realistic expectations. But most importantly, I want you to come in and be a recruiter for the right reasons, not for like, I don't know what I want to do, or I think recruiting is a great way to make money and I just want to, try this. And if it doesn't work out, try something else. I think people who succeed at recruiting come in with the right mindset, knowing that if you're agency world working for yourself, you 100% have to take it very seriously, like a business, or even like I like to call it, maybe even like a professional athlete, someone who is on a form every single day. And whether you had a late night, whether you didn't sleep well, whether or not your week or month is going bad, you have to show up every single day and be on your A form and attack each day the best that you can, every single day, every week, every month. And that's what I try to show with these videos, and that's what I've seen from really successful recruiters do, or anyone in more of like an entrepreneurial sales role where you're just not given leads, you're responsible for a full desk. So generating your own leads, generating your own clients, it's honestly as close to being an entrepreneur and running your own business. Even though it may not look like it on the surface, running a full desk sales anywhere, especially in recruiting, it's like running your own startup, your own business. You're in charge of everything, and your income is never stable and it's never consistent. And I think if you're able to understand that coming into it, and you're able to go through a lot of the lows and a lot of the tough times that come out of it, you're going to be just coming out mentally stronger to help you set yourself up for success. So overall, if you're in recruiting industry, I just would love to meet you either way and would love to help in any way possible. So if you guys have hard to fill roles, you guys are in-house and you think your company might work with external partners, reach out to us. We're more than happy to help you out. If you're working for yourself as a recruiting agent or independent recruiter, you have hard to fill roles, you have a lot of great candidates that you want to present more jobs, reach out to us. If you think you're an awesome at biz dev and you may not like sourcing, reach out to us. Vice versa. If you think you might like sourcing but you don't like the biz dev, there's so many open roles we need help with as well. So I'm all about collaborating, putting our heads together, and just being better and providing wins and value to more people as much and fast as we can. So that's my biggest inspiration behind this. It's just been a good week so far. Looking back at it, we are still hyper focused on 2 deals, but we have a lot of other candidates that are moving forward in process despite this being a holiday weekend. That's what I love. I love when things slow down, but we're still able to maintain and push forward and still make progress, because I know that if we can do that, then we're coming into next week with great momentum, when a lot of people are not even working next week, or they have a short week, but we're still cranking it out, we're still producing, and we're still getting one step closer to more and more job offers and just helping make impact in other people's lives and other founders and startups' lives, which is something that I love and honestly never gets old after doing all these years. So again, if there's any other videos I would like, please let me know. If you like this video, you're crushing your goals, you have great goals, and you just want to make May and the next month awesome, please consider like, subscribe, click that bell. It would really, really mean a lot. Also, feel free to give me a shout out on Instagram and Facebook. Would love to kind of shout you back and appreciate it. But thank you so much again. Wishing you all a long weekend. Hope you have a great time, relax, recharge, and I promise I'll get back to you with another video next week, and we'll get back at it. So let's make it an awesome week, let's make it an awesome month, let's make it an awesome quarter and a great first half of the year. Let's get it done. Take care.